Rupee ends at 63.38 against the US dollar, gains 46 paise. Markets end flat. Sensex gains less than a point. Nifty up 16 points. Shares of state-run banks edge higher. TRAI comes out with its recommendation on guidelines for television rating agencies. Calls for registration of rating agencies with Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Apple unveils its cheaper line of iPhones aimed at boosting sales in emerging markets like India. New phones to hit markets from September 20th in over 100 countries. And in our special today, as trade deficit shrinks, rupee gains against the dollar and crisis in Syria abates, question arises, is the economy back on track and seeing green shoots of recovery? Hello and welcome to Doordarshan News. I am Sidhant Sibal and you're watching Business Wrap, your one-stop destination to all the biz news of the day. Now on to the top stories. Rupee ended at 63.38 versus the US dollar, up 46 paise. This is the fifth day of gain for rupee. The rupee had settled at 63.84 against the US dollar yesterday. Rupee has been strengthening since Raghuram Rajan took over as the new governor of the Reserve Bank of India. On to the markets. After four successive rallies, markets seemed relaxed today. Though intraday trade saw ups and downs, but the closing figures did not show much of a movement from yesterday's mark. Sensex closed at 19,997, which was the closing point of yesterday as well, with Nifty, though marginally, gained 16 points and closed at 5,913 points. Shares of state-run banks edged higher. Gainers on the chart were Tata Steel, Hindalco Industries, SBI, Tata Power and Sun Pharma, which were up by between 5 to 2%. Losers on the chart were Tata Motors, Hindustan Unilever, ITC, BHEL and Cipla, which were down by between 2 to 1%. Overall market breadth was positive with 1,407 advances against 948 declines. 156 scrips, however, remained unchanged. Now on to global markets. Most European stocks edged lower, with investors taking a breather after a solid rally the prior day and digesting the latest developments in the Syrian conflict. Key benchmark indices in France and UK shed by between 0.09% to 0.11%. Germany's DAX rose 0.38%. Now on to Asian markets. Asian stocks were mixed today. Key benchmark indices in China, Japan and South Korea were up by between 0.01% to 0.49%. Key benchmark indices in Hong Kong, Indonesia and Singapore were off by between 0.17% to 0.5%. Taiwan's Taiwan Weight Index was unchanged for the day. Time for a short break here. Stay tuned and keep watching Business Wrap.
सीमेंट सस्ता नहीं सबसे अच्छा।
पापा याद है आपने प्रॉमिस किया था कि हम पार्क चलेंगे।
श्योर बेटा, अभी चलते हैं।
अरे फिर वही बोरिंग ट्रैफिक।
कोई नहीं, हम नए फ्लाईओवर से चलेंगे।
पापा ये फ्लाईओवर किसने बनाया है?
हमने बनाया बेटा।
आपने कैसे?
हम सरकार को टैक्स पे करते हैं और सरकार उससे फ्लाईओवर्स, स्कूल्स, हॉस्पिटल्स और बहुत कुछ बनाती है।
वाओ नाइस। पापा मेट्रो ये किसने बनाई है?
हम ही ने, टैक्स के द्वारा।
ओह, just like the flyovers and schools.
हाँ, बिल्कुल बेटा।
वाह, कितना सुंदर पार्क।
गेस करो किसने बनाया है?
क्या ये भी आपने बनाया?
ये भी हमने टैक्सेस से बनाया।
तो क्या आप टैक्स पे करते हैं?
हाँ बेटा, हर साल, वो भी टाइम से पहले।
पापा, you are the best.
इस महीने की 15 तारीख या उससे पहले अपने एडवांस टैक्स का भुगतान करें। आयकर में निवेश करें, देश की उन्नति में भागीदार बने।
ये मेरी फिल्म है और इस फिल्म का सुपरस्टार मैं हूँ। इस कहानी में कई सारे विलेन हैं, कभी ये तो कभी ये। और जब मैं अपनी ड्रीम नियो पर निकल पड़ता हूँ तो इसकी दमदार पावर, ये मस्त लंबी सीट, टनाटन ट्यूबलेस टायर्स, जबरदस्त शॉकर्स और ये कमाल माइलेज के साथ लगता है कि ये सब बस छोटे मोटे विलेन हैं। फूंक दो तो उड़ जाएंगे। फिल्म चलें?
अपनी इतनी अच्छी तो दूसरों की क्यों देखें?
ड्रीम नियो, बनो अपनी फिल्म का सुपरस्टार।
सर्विस टैक्स नहीं भरते हैं? मुझे पता नहीं आपको पता है कि नहीं पता, लेकिन सर्विस टैक्स नहीं देना जुर्म है। भारी पेनल्टी लग सकती है और जेल भी हो सकती है। अब सर्विस टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट ये कह रहा है कि आपने टैक्स नहीं भरा है तो आप ले लो लड्डू। सर्विस टैक्स VCS एक्चुअली लड्डू है। नहीं भरा तो आप भर सकते हैं बिना पेनल्टी, बिना इंटरेस्ट और इंस्टॉलमेंट में भी। आप बता दिए, बाद में मत कहना पता नहीं था। मिल रहा है, खा लीजिए, बाद में पता नहीं रहे ना रहे लड्डू।
VCES सर्विस टैक्स भरिए, नई शुरुआत करिए।
The Telecom Regulatory Authority of India has come out with its recommendations on guidelines for television rating agencies. The recommendations aims at bringing clarity on the business of television rating. Here's a report.
The Telecom Regulatory Authority of India has come out with recommendations on guidelines for television rating agency. The Ministry of Information and Broadcasting requested TRAI to provide its recommendations on issues related to guidelines mechanism for accreditation of TRP rating agencies in India. TRAI issued a consultation paper on the issue on 17 April 2013 and conducted an open house discussion on 1st July 2013. The key features of the recommendations are: TRAI supports self-regulation of TV rating through an industry-led body like Broadcast Audience Research Council. Any agency meeting the eligibility conditions can apply and get registered with MIB for doing the rating work.
These guidelines are accepted by the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. In that case, in case of a major violation, that means suppose they are not able to meet the cross holding, for example, and a few more major criteria, which has been given to them. In that case, they will be fined initially for the first offence, a sum of ₹1 crore. That's what we have recommended here. And in case of second violation, they will be liable to be their registration would be liable to be cancelled.
The recommendations also calls for MIB to notify the guideline for regulating the TV ratings based on TRAI's recommendations within 2 months. The guidelines cover registration, eligibility norms, cross-holding, methodology, complaints redressal, sale and use of rating, audit, disclosure, reporting requirements, and penal provisions. The number of panel homes for collecting TV viewership data will be a minimum of 20,000 and will have to be set up within 6 months of guideline coming into force. The rating agency will have to set up an effective complaint redressal system. Penal provisions for non-compliance of guidelines include financial penalty of 10 lakh rupees to 1 crore rupees and cancellation of registration. Since 2008, TRAI has been giving its recommendations on implementing a reliable and transparent TV rating system. Business Desk, DD News.
Telecom Minister Sibal has criticized the Department of Telecom for imposing heavy penalties on operators and asked it to resolve the issue with the companies in next 2 months. Sibal said that if DOT continues its current ways, he would have to give power to impose penalty to TRI or Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. In June, DOT had imposed 650 crore rupees penalty on Bharti Airtel for violating roaming norms in 13 service areas between 2003 and 2005. In July, DOT slammed 549 crore rupees penalty on Vodafone for using 3G spectrum in 11 service areas which were allocated to another company. The minister said that the policy for mergers and acquisition in the sector would come by end of this month. President of Liberia, Ellen Johnson, today met Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh at Hyderabad House in the national capital. Both the sides held delegation-level talks on various bilateral issues. Later, the two sides also signed several agreements in the field of oil and gas, energy and international relations. Addressing newspersons after the agreement, Prime Minister stressed that both sides have pledged to work together to realize their full potential in improving bilateral relations further.
India and Liberia enjoy warm and friendly relations. Our official exchanges, trade and investment linkages, and people-to-people interactions are growing steadily. President Sirleaf and I have reviewed our relations and pledged to work together to realize the full potential of our partnership. Our talks have laid a strong foundation for closer political understanding and deepening of our economic exchanges in the coming years.
The Liberian president said that the talks were comprehensive.
The state visit is for us a historic one. It is the first state visit by a Liberian head of state. We are very pleased with the outcome. We believe it has put relationship between our two countries on a deeper, solid, and sustainable footing.
Later addressing an event organized jointly by FICCI, CII and NASUCHEM, Liberian president said that India will play the role of main development partner in Liberia's future.
India has the challenge to be a main partner to Liberia in this. Already, this partnership is growing. Not only do we have a very strong and deepening bilateral relations, but the private sector, which we see as our main engine of growth, will grow with Indian partnership, with Indian businesses, with joint ventureship. It's already started, and that we hope that this visit would lead to a broadening of this potential.
Time for another short break. More after this small break.
दिन भर खेत में काम कर करके टूट जाता था। कभी जोड़ों में दर्द तो कभी सर दर्द। फिर एक दिन गांव में वैद्य जी आए। उन्होंने सुझाया नवरत्न तेल। कहा कि ये है 9 आयुर्वेदिक जड़ी बूटियों वाला। मैंने इसे शाम को बदन और सर पे लगाया और चमत्कार, बदन दर्द, सर दर्द, अनिद्रा और थकान से मिला पल भर में आराम।
ठंडा ठंडा कूल कूल।
पापा याद है आपने प्रॉमिस किया था कि हम पार्क चलेंगे।
श्योर बेटा, अभी चलते हैं।
अरे फिर वही बोरिंग ट्रैफिक।
कोई नहीं, हम नए फ्लाईओवर से चलेंगे।
पापा ये फ्लाईओवर किसने बनाया है?
हमने बनाया बेटा।
आपने कैसे?
हम सरकार को टैक्स पे करते हैं और सरकार उससे फ्लाईओवर्स, स्कूल्स, हॉस्पिटल्स और बहुत कुछ बनाती है।
वाओ नाइस। पापा मेट्रो ये किसने बनाई है?
हम ही ने, टैक्स के द्वारा।
ओह, just like the flyovers and schools.
हाँ बिल्कुल बेटा।
वाह कितना सुंदर पार्क।
गेस करो किसने बनाया है?
क्या ये भी आपने बनाया?
ये भी हमने टैक्सेस से बनाया।
तो क्या आप टैक्स पे करते हैं?
हाँ बेटा, हर साल, वो भी टाइम से पहले।
पापा यू आर द बेस्ट।
इस महीने की 15 तारीख या उससे पहले अपने एडवांस टैक्स का भुगतान करें। आयकर में निवेश करें, देश की उन्नति में भागीदार बने।
दिल या साथी, चाहे कुछ भी कहे, जो कॉन्डम का साथ न छोड़े वही है मुकद्दर का सिकंदर।
Now some news from the technology space. Apple has unveiled 2 new handsets, the top-end iPhone 5s and the cheaper iPhone 5C at an event in California. Apple has unveiled its cheaper line of iPhones aimed at boosting sales in emerging markets like India. The cheaper line of iPhones will be available in green, white, blue, red and yellow colors.
Cheaper, faster and little prettier. Apple's much pre-hyped new phones. Apple has unveiled two new handsets, the top-end iPhone 5s and a cheaper iPhone 5C at an event in California. The 5s introduces a fingerprint sensor built into the phone's main button to identify the user. The 5C comes with a plastic back in a choice of colors. It marks a change of strategy for Apple, which had not launched two distinct types of handset at the same time before. The iPhone is the firm's most important product in terms of earnings power.
What I don't think people realize is the tremendous improvements they've made internally in the iPhone. Both a 64-bit chip, which will allow for much faster processing across all of the apps. But then even more importantly, what Apple announced that hadn't been talked about before was the fact that they're now including a coprocessor, an M7 coprocessor, that's just going to be dedicated and focused to people's movements and the ability to track people and the gyroscopes and other directional components all within the iPhone. And what this means is a whole additional level of applications that can be developed.
The new fingerprint system can be used to unlock the 5S and provide authentication for purchases from Apple's online marketplace. However, Apple is not the first phone company to offer such a fingerprint reader. Motorola added the facility to its Atrix handset in 2011. The 5S SIM-free price ranges from £549 for a 16GB version to £709 for a 64GB model. The basic 5C model with 16GB of storage has been priced SIM-free at £469. The new iPhones go on sale in the USA, UK, China, Australia and Canada, among other countries, on 20th of September. It marks the first time China has been included in the initial wave of sales. Business Desk, DD News.
On to the Indian economy, which seems to be limping back. Trade deficit has narrowed down, crude prices are falling, car sales have picked up. But are these green shoots of recovery going to grow? And if yes, how much?
The overdue fall in rupee saw a lot of drama, but the Indian economy has begun to reap the benefits of a more competitive currency. The latest trade data for August shows that exports have grown at double digit, that is 13%. This is the second month in a row that exports recorded a double-digit growth. In July, exports were up 11%. Imports have also been falling, with imports in August 2013 contracting by 0.68%. Due to this contraction in imports and expansion in exports, the trade deficit for August 2013 came down to $10.9 billion from $14.17 billion in August 2012. The trade deficit is now down to its lowest in 5 months. Gold imports have also fallen sharply. Although it's too early to announce a conclusive victory, it's quite likely that the Indian current account deficit has peaked. Rupee is also strengthening versus the dollar, and as crisis in Syria seems to get resolved by diplomatic intervention, things never look so good.
The images from this massacre are sickening. Men, women, children lying in rows, killed by poison gas. Others foaming at the mouth, gasping for breath. A father clutching his dead children, imploring them to get up and walk. On that terrible night, the world saw in gruesome detail the terrible nature of chemical weapons and why the overwhelming majority of humanity has declared them off limits, a crime against humanity.
Oil prices have been falling as war clouds over Syria fade. Brent crude futures have fallen more than 10% in the past 2 days, and fears eased of an imminent strike against Syria. Global as well as the Indian markets have gained on back of abating Syrian crisis. The Indian markets recorded their single biggest intraday gain since May 2009 on Tuesday. And remember, India had a bumper monsoon season, which could mean a bumper crop. So are we seeing green shoots of recovery? It will all depend on what Ben Bernanke does on 18th of September. Will the Fed chairman unsettle global markets by sharply reducing liquidity? And also what the new RBI governor Raghuram Rajan do on September 20th, when it will release its next mid-quarter monetary policy review on September 20th. Business Desk, DD News.
Continuing with the Indian economy, snapping a 9-month streak of decline, domestic passenger car sales grew by 15.37% in August this year. The auto sector has been hit by demand slowdown and low consumer sentiments in recent months. But with car sales increasing in August, car manufacturers are hopeful that festive season will bring some cheer to the industry.
Crisis in the Indian economy is taking its toll badly on the automobile sector, which seems to be on rapid decline. For a long time now, car makers in India have been battling extremely low demand, which has resulted in a significant drop in sales. Till now, companies have been trying to counter this crisis with a number of strategies, such as introduction of new models, providing lucrative deals, and offering heavy discounts. These ploys have worked only to a certain extent, which, in the big picture, can be considered as negligible. Automakers have been battling slow demand, economic crisis, rising cost inputs, and higher fuel prices for a long time now. Due to this, buyers have become highly reluctant and are refraining from purchasing new vehicles. Besides slowdown in the economy, high interest rates have always been a cause of concern for our country, and especially for the middle class when they are buying white goods and cars, as the EMIs are linked ultimately to the rates. Car sales in India fell for the 9th month in a row in July. But the automakers still hope that the new launches and the coming festive season will provide some cheer and dramatically turn around the fortunes of the industry.
With monsoons coming in to be positive, all the agencies and the government agencies have talked about positive monsoons, which will definitely result in pent-up demand from the rural India. So we are quite upbeat.
We do expect some improvement during the festive period, but situation is going to remain tough for next several months.
Long-term view of the Indian economy is still very, very sound. We think that the issues that we have right now are going to continue for a period of time unless we get some kind of a stimulus from the government. But the long-term trend in terms of the growth in the economy and the growth in the auto industry in particular is very sound, we believe.
With automobile sales in India, which was one of the fastest growing markets in the world, having spurted, Minister of Heavy Industry and Public Enterprises Praful Patel has pitched in for a stimulus package to the sector.
It does make a genuine case for this segment of the industry to grow meaningfully in the future. And at the moment, as I see, the government is fully committed. In fact, we would like to encourage this segment very meaningfully. The Auto Cess Fund and other avenues of money which we collect, we would rather than using it for other purposes, would also like to see that this segment gets energized by giving some kind of indirect or direct subsidies.
However, August brought in some good news for the sector, as after enduring a prolonged period of falls in sales, the auto market managed to enter the positive growth territory after 9 months, witnessing an increase of 15.37% in the month. The automobile industry is one of the largest employers and contributes almost 25% of manufacturing GDP. Despite mixed responses from people from the industry, analysts are hoping for a good time in the coming future.
The current economic scenario, the automobile sector has also been witnessing a declining trend. But hopes are still alive that in the coming months, when the festive season and monsoon picks up, the automobile sector will also pick up in the coming days. With camera person Anand Kumar, this is Salve Chaudhary, DD News.
The head of European Union's executive, Jose Manuel Barroso, has warned that the bloc must not ease off on reforms as growth edges back. Meanwhile, UK unemployment rate has dropped to 7.7%. More such news in our business wrap.
Railways have carried 426 million tons freight during the April to August this year, as compared to the freight traffic of 400 million tons carried during the same period last year, registering an increase of more than 5%. In August this year, the freight traffic carried by railways showed an increase of 6%. National Spot Exchange Limited defaulted for the 4th consecutive week, as it could pay only 13.4 crore rupees on Tuesday to investors out of the scheduled 174 crore. Crisis-ridden NSCL had defaulted in payments on the 3 previous occasions as well. With today's payout, NSCL has been able to settle only 134 crore rupees out of the 5,500 crore rupees outstanding to the 13,000 investors. The exchange had availed a bridge loan of 177 crore rupees from its promoters, Financial Technologies, to make payments on priority basis to small investors. The Reserve Bank of India has appealed to public not to use banknotes for making garlands, decorating pandals and places of worship, or for showering on personalities in social events, saying that such actions deface the banknotes and shorten their life. The RBI also added that banknotes should be respected, as they are symbol of the sovereign, and public should not misuse them and help in increasing the life of banknotes. The RBI has said that it is taking measures to supply clean banknotes across the country and urged public to contribute to its efforts in pursuing a clean note policy for the country. Notwithstanding the continuing economic gloom, India has recorded the largest increase in its ultra-high net worth individual club among the BRICS nations in the last 1 year, with a total of 7,850 super rich people in the country. India has also the highest number of female millionaires in the world, as the country boasts of over 1,250 ultra-high net worth women with a combined fortune of $95 billion. State-owned India Infrastructure Finance Company Limited has sought market regulator SEBI's approval to raise up to 8,171 crore rupees through tax-free bonds. The proceeds from the issue will be utilized by IIFCL for financing activities including lending and investments. Besides, the fund would be used to meet working capital requirements. In February this year, the government had allowed some financial institutions to mop up about 50,000 crore rupees from tax-free bonds in 2013-14 in a bid to encourage investment in the infrastructure sector. Business Desk, DD News.
Well, that's all in this edition of Business Wrap. Thanks for watching. Namaskar.